Hello guys, welcome back again to another tutorial. My name is Dorothy. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to cut and sew this trendy A-line maxi dress with a side loop and bell sleeves. If you are interested in learning how to make this style, watch this video to the end so you don't miss any explanation or tip. And also don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't. Give this video a thumb up because it will really boost the visibility of this video. So now let's get started with the video. The material that I am using for this tutorial is a Duchess silk material and I'm using 2.5 yards. The length of this material is by 60 inches. That means if you are on a bigger size, get 3 yards or 3.5 yards of this material, or you can still use any material of your choice. That is any fabric of your choice at all. And another thing I would like to tell my beginners, dear beginners, if you cannot handle silk material, please use other fabric because this material is very silky and it's quite difficult to work with. Okay, now I will be folding this material into 4 because I'll be cutting the front and the back pieces together. So what I did was I picked the both edges of this material just the way you see me doing. Then I folded it into 2. This is first fold. Then I fold it again into another 2. This is second fold, and already we have our 4 layers of fabric. Now I'll place this on the table and I will take my time in arranging the edges and layer very well so it can be equal. Then I'll go ahead and use my pin to clip the fabric together so that it doesn't move when we are drafting on it. On this edge here, I will rule a line across, and this line will be the starting line or the shoulder line. Let me adjust the material so you can see very well, and I'll also be highlighting the starting line so you can see more clearly. On the starting line or shoulder line, I mark half of the shoulder measurements that I am working with. The shoulder measurement I am working with is 15. 15 divided by 2 is 7.5, so I mark 7.5 on the starting line. Then from the point I mark 7.5, I came down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. To slope the shoulder, we need to take the neckline measurement, and the neckline measurement I am working with for the neck width is 3.5 while the neck depth is 4 inches. I mark the 4 inches, then I use my chalk to connect the 2 points together to create a round neckline. This neckline measurement is for the front piece. For the back piece, the neck width remained 3.5 while the neck depth I came down by 2 inches. So I'm going to connect this point to the neck width, and it's also going to be a round neckline. Now from the point I came down for my shoulder slope, I'm going to connect a slant line from the neckline all the way to that point. To create the armhole length, from this point I mark for the shoulder slope, I came down on that point by 7.5 inches and I make a mark there. Now to get the armhole length measurement, you simply divide the bust circumference by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Whatever the result is, that's the armhole length. Now I use my straight ruler to connect the point together, and this line will be the armhole line, and I also extended the line horizontally like this, and this horizontal line will serve as the chest line. On this armhole line, I measure 8 and I divided the line by 2 to take the midpoint. On that midpoint, I came out by half an inch and I make a mark there. Then on the chest line, I divided the bust circumference that I'm working with by 4, and the bust circumference I am working with is 34. 34 divided by 4 is 8.5, so I make a mark there on the chest line. Then I'm going to use my chalk to just create the armhole depth just the way you see me doing. You can use your curve ruler to do this, or you can just use your freehand to just create the armhole depth just the way you see me doing. To mark the vertical point, which is the bust point, the waistline and the hip line, and also the length of this dress, from the shoulder line I came down by 10 inches for the bust point length. Still leaving my tape row on the shoulder line, I came down by 16 inches for the waistline measurement. I marked that. Then from my shoulder to my hip line is 24 inches. I marked that also. Then for the length of this dress, I'll be making use of the entire length of this material. The entire length of this material is 60 inches. Now I will use my ruler to connect all these points I marked horizontally. So here on my bust point, I divided the bust circumference that I'm working with by 4 and I marked that. The bust circumference I am working with is 34. 34 divided by 4 is 8.5. I marked the 8.5 on the bust point line, then I added 2 inches sewing allowance. Then on the waistline, I'll be using my bust measurements here because I'll be creating a loop for the waist, which we will use to snatch the waist later. So there's no need of taking the waist measurement here. So I'll just leave the waistline like this. On the hip line, I divided the hip circumference that I'm working with by 4 and I marked it. Then I added 2 inches sewing allowance. I wanted to make the hip area very free, so I added 3 inches allowance, but I later adjusted the allowance to 2 inches. Okay, now I'm going to use my chalk to connect all the points that I marked together, just the way you see me doing. But because this is an A-line dress, so from this hip line right here, I'm going to slant the line like this all the way down to the length of the dress to give it the A-line effect. Now I'll go ahead and cut this out. If you're going to be making use of silk fabric while cutting, please pause and check that all your folds are together. You wouldn't want to ruin your fabric. Now to cut the neckline, I will first of all cut the back neckline first, and when I'm done cutting that, I will remove the inner pieces. So these inner pieces will be for my back piece. Then for the front piece, I'll be using this piece that have a chalk marking. So I arranged this front piece very well, then I cut out the front neckline. We are basically done with the drafting and cutting of this A-line bobo dress. Now we'll be moving to the sewing part of it. So for the sewing, the first thing I'll be doing is piping the neckline, and I'll be using bias tape to pipe my neckline. You can also cut a pieces of the same fabric to pipe your neckline, or you can cut a facing for it. It all depends on your preference. To create the loop and the rope that we'll be using to snatch the waist, I already cut out those pieces, and the width of this piece is 2 inches while the length is 40 inches. So I'll be folding this rope like this. I'll fold the both edges in, and if you know how the bias tape is folded, then that's how this is going to be folded as well. And after I was done folding the 2 edges in, I'm going to fold it again into 2. Then I'll take this to the sewing machine and I'll go and run a stitch on it. I'm done piping the front and the back neckline. This is how the back neckline look like, and here is how the front neckline look like. You can see how neat this is. So the next thing is we'll be working on the loop. I'm done sewing the rope also. Now to create the loop, I'll cut out pieces of this rope by 2 inches, and I cut about 8 pieces of it because each side of the waistline will be having 4 loops. So I fold up the rope like this, and the length of it is 2 inches. Then I went ahead to cut it out, and that's how I'm going to cut out the 8 pieces that I need. So guys, I'm done cutting out the loop, and these are the 8 pieces that I need. So I'll keep this aside. So from the shoulder line of this front piece, I came down by 13.5 inches. The 13.5 inches is the under bust length measurement. So the loop is going to be starting from the under bust all the way to the waistline. Okay, so from my shoulder line to the waistline is 16 inches. I marked that. So from the under bust measurements to the waistline, I mark 1 inch in between. Okay, this 1 inch is the spacing between each of the loop, and I marked 4 of these points. I pick the loop, fold it into 2 just the way you see me doing, and place it on the line. Then I'll use my pen to secure it. I'll do the same thing to each of this line that I created. I'll just pick the loop, fold it into 2, and place it on the second line. Then I'll use my pen to hold it together. So this is what I'm going to do for all the lines that I've created. Now that I'm done fixing the loop on the waistline, I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and run a top stitch, and I'll do the same thing to this other side as well. So guys, this is what I have after I was done top stitching on the loop. You can see how the loop is staying in place now. So the next thing I'm going to do is to place my back piece on my front piece, right side facing each other. Then I'll arrange the shoulder line together like this, and I'll take this to the sewing machine and I'll sew on the shoulder, and I'll do the same thing to the second shoulder as well. I'll simply arrange the both shoulder together on each other. Then I'll take it to the sewing machine and I'll go and sew it. Then for the side, I'll arrange my bodice like this. Then I'll take my bodice also to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew the bodice by 1 inch. Okay, I'm going to sew this all the way down to the length of the dress. This is what I have after I was done joining the shoulder and also the side of the dress. So I'm going to turn this over to the right face so that you see how the right face look like. You can see that the lobe are outside, okay, after I was done joining this shoulder. So right now let's go ahead and work on the sleeves. To work on the sleeves, I have to arrange my side very well, that is the armhole area properly. Then I went ahead to measure around the armhole. I'm sorry that my camera is not capturing this part very well, but when I measured the armhole I had 10 inches. I did the same thing to the other side of the armhole as well, and I had 10 inches also. So this is the measurement I'm going to use and work on the sleeve. So I have this pieces of fabric that I'll be using it to cut the sleeve. So what I'll just do next is to fold these pieces of fabric into 2, and when I'm done with that, I'm going to take the length of the sleeve. The length of the sleeve that I'm working with is 27. Then I added 1 inch folding allowance to it, making it 28. I just want the sleeve to be a little bit over the finger. Okay, I don't want it to be the exact sleeve size, so it's just going to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to cut these pieces out so that we can get the portion that we are going to be working with. The type of sleeve that we are working with is a bell sleeve. Now to create a sleeve armhole, I'll just go ahead and use my chalk to just create the armhole just the way you see me doing. Okay, we don't need to do too much when creating a bell sleeve. All you just need is to get a sleeve armhole, and when I was done with that, I'm going to measure this armhole to see that the armhole correspond with that of my dress armhole. So when I did this, I had the 10 inches I was working with, and I make a mark there. So now I'll just give this a little bit of curve on the side here, just a little bit. Then the remaining one will just be bell, like in form of an A line. Okay, and when I'm done with that, I'm just going to cut this out. So this is our sleeve. What I'm going to do next, I'm going to place this on another pieces of fabric, and I'll cut out the second sleeve. And after cutting the second sleeve, I'm going to head over to the sewing machine and join my sleeve to the dress, and I will also be hemming the length of the sleeve. So I'll go and do this and bring it so that you see what we have after. So guys, this is what we have after I was done fixing the sleeve to the dress, and I also hemmed the length of the sleeve. Okay, and when I was done with that, I went ahead to hem the length of the dress. So the last thing to have a better finishing is to weave the inner, and when you're done with that, and that's all, you can see how beautiful and how neat this turns out. So tell me in the comment section, is this something you will love to make for yourself? And this brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching to this point. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell so you get notified to when I drop new video every week. And please, if this video was helpful, please help me and like this video. Okay, give this video a thumbs up. Without further ado, see you all in my next one.